For 16, the sentence currently reads, if employees find themselves falling behind in the workplace, these critics contend, then it is the duty of those employees to identify and even pay for appropriate resources. Okay, so immediately I see an issue here. We have a period rather than any other punctuation, and that's a problem because this first part, actually I think the second part as well, but this first sentence for sure is not actually a complete sentence. Why? Well, you have, if employees find themselves falling behind in the workplace, then what, right? These critics, okay, so these critics are contending that, but if you have an if, then you need a then, right? It doesn't make sense just to say, if employees find themselves falling behind in the workplace, these critics contend. You know, it's like asking for some continuation. And the thing is that our continuation is given, but it's in the next sentence. So this is inappropriate to put this kind of separation here because we need these two things to somehow be together. Because if you have an if, then you need some, an explicit then or in that sort of continuation implied. So we're removing A because this first part is not a complete sentence. In fact, with the same logic, we can also remove option B because it uses a semicolon. And we got to remember that when you use a semicolon, you need what comes before and what comes after to be a complete sentence. And since we just established that what comes before is not a complete sentence, we can't use a semicolon. So we're down to C and D. And the only difference here is that either you put a comma between contend and then, or you don't. And the important thing to notice here is that you're already given a comma right here. So would it make sense to surround this with a comma, or surround this with commas? Given the sentence, it actually would make sense. Remember that when you surround something with commas, that means it's just, it's some kind of elaboration in the sentence, but it's not necessary to the structure of the sentence. So if we add this comma here, the question is, does the sentence make sense if we just removed this part, if we surround it with commas? Well, it would then read, if employees find themselves falling behind in the workplace, then it is the duty of those employees to identify and even pay for appropriate resources. So this sentence totally makes sense without this insertion. That means this is just an unnecessary elaboration that we should surround with commas to signify that it is just an elaboration. That leaves us with option D, because that will surround this with a comma on both sides.